So, how should a business that's a seasonal business, such as landscaping and hardscaping, plan for their marketing campaigns throughout the year? Hi, I'm Don Franklin with Landscapers Web Marketing, and I'm going to answer this question for you, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to market in the off season. So, the question is, do you market during the season of your business when it's most busy? Do you market in the off season, or do you do both? That's right, you need to do both. So just like as if you were training as an athlete, you train in the off season more so than you do during the season. A lot of times, right? So continue training during both, but the way that you train is what changes. So, well, that's the same way with a small business. A seasonal landscaping business needs to have a marketing campaign that runs all year, but the way in which you market is going to need to have a shift when it's off season than when it is during the season. So let's talk about some ways and some tips on how you can market your business during the season and then during the off season as well. So, tip number one, you want to market your landscaping business in the off season, and that's really to build your organic presence on Google search and the Google Maps for your business. So, people search things when it's the season, right? When the season comes, you already want to be ranking on the top of Google. So what you need to do is really in the off season, put a lot of effort behind your landscaping business to get it ranking at the top of Google for the best keywords on search and also the best keywords for the Google Maps. Two different things. So people use Google search and the Google Maps to find local landscaping businesses. And so when the season starts to come, people will start to search for those landscaping services that you provide. And you want to be on top. You want to be found. Well, you just don't get the top overnight. This isn't something that you can just sink your teeth into when the season comes around because you'll be too late. So you have to start working on this in the off season as fast as possible. So you want to build your content, put it on your website, build your target content pages all around these keywords. And then you want to focus on getting more reviews on your Google Maps listing so that your Maps listing ranks higher and so many other things in between those things when it comes to SEO and content marketing. So this should be your focus during the off season so that your business ranks very high for as many keywords as possible that are going to drive your business when the season comes around. Tip number two for this, during the off season, you need to build your presence on social media. So this is really, really important because you want to be the brand of the customers that they think of first when the season comes around, right? They're not going to think of you first if you don't start marketing until the season starts, right? You're way too late at that point. You have to be doing this all prior to that so that you're at top of mind. You need to get out in front of this. So here's the thing. When someone's going to be using a landscaper, they're thinking about this well before the spring comes along, and they know that it gets to be busy during the scheduling time for landscapers, right? When the season's there. So they're thinking it way in advance. So how do you get in front of them on social media that far in advance? So when they start to think about things they're going to need or want in the future, they see you and they're thinking of you first. And that just comes down to social media posting and maybe doing some paid social advertising. You should be doing some organic posts and targeted paid ads to stay out in front of people. Get to work making your brand aware to them. There's a great idea here that you can leverage too, which is sending out reminders. This can be a great way to build a huge list. Post on Facebook and Instagram social reminders. Well, you want to start putting these reminders out there, reminding them of important dates or other alerts. Those sort of things can be very helpful, right? Alerts can throw out there that people can actually remember to do something when the time comes. So the thing is, you're building a huge list and a huge audience. So then when the season comes around, now it's time to start getting your lawn cut or fertilized or things like that. You can even set up alerts and promotions on social media for discounts for the early birds. So for example, that could be, hey, you need your lawn cut in the spring. Spring's coming, so put your name in here and get an early bird discount. So when we're ready to start filling up the schedule, you're on top and you get the discount. So what happens is you start building a huge list there. So when the season rolls around, boom, your schedule's full, and that's the key. All right, so tip number three is why should you continue to market during the off season is to build an audience that you can use for retargeting. as in advertising when the season comes around. So the way that retargeting works is as people see you on social media or they go to your website, they're added into a list, kind of an electronic list. And you don't necessarily have to be advertising to this list while building up the list itself. It's just building an audience of individuals that have seen your brand or been to your website. And the key here is to have a list as big as possible. So when the season comes around, you have this huge list that you can now run more ads to. And now that people are on that list, a whole list of people in your audience that as soon as the season hits, you're getting out in front of them. So all of a sudden, they're seeing your ads everywhere. It just feels like you're the best company in town. And the beauty of retargeting is it's actually really less expensive than just running cold audience paid ads. So if you build this huge list in advance as the season's coming up, when you start to advertise and turn your retargeting ads on during the season, it's going to be much, much less expensive than running the ads to just a brand new list of people that aren't even aware of you and they're not in your retargeting list. So just running ads at the top of the Google or other ways, that the cost per click is really high if you're doing it that way. But if they've been to your website before or they've seen you before, to remarket to them is actually really, really cheap. And so you want to have the biggest of the list as possible when the season hits. So instantly, boom, your ads are everywhere and everybody goes to you instead of to your competitor. All right, so tip number 4. Here's the last tip of the off season, is to prepare for building up your reputation. So building up your reputation is extremely important because people are going to make buying decisions based on the number of reviews that you have and your overall rating. So there's 2 different elements there. So in the off season, it's a great time to pause and look at all the customers that you've served during this whole busy season, and you follow up with them. Make sure that they're doing well, capture the reviews, and the process of capturing all these reviews, when you get a good review, you can actually also ask for referrals at that time. So you can actually build more income at the same time. And in many cases, it's a good opportunity to also get out in front of them and schedule them for the next season. So the key is, if you can do the right type of marketing during the off season, you actually can fill your schedule for the season. So here's the beauty of that. If you fill your schedule for the season, you don't have to do as much increased marketing during your season. So here's the thing about that. Marketing during the season is much more expensive, right? Because marketing is competitive. It's a competitive thing, right? So everybody's bidding against the same keywords, and it's a mechanism between you and your competitors. So if everybody's rushing to run their ads at the same time, what's it going to do? It's going to push up that price. But if you don't need to be the desperate business that's doing that because your schedule's already full from all your marketing in the off season, you're going to actually have a better return on your investment overall. So you'll ultimately see a better return on investment with your marketing if you evenly spread it throughout the year and stay consistent with it and keep your schedule in full in advance, as opposed to not marketing in the off season and waiting till the season comes around and then panicking and spending way too much to get the business that you're looking for. And so these are just things for you to think about as a landscaping business owner with a seasonal business, and how you can be prepared for winning the season in your next season. Hopefully that this information that I've given you in these tips that you've enjoyed, and it's given you some ideas to think about on how you can market your business in the off season and prepare for a winning season. Thanks for watching. Happy marketing.